Welcome to Fiberchats. I'm so happy that you decided to join me for this final chapter of Humans of Westknits. I actually counted and I interviewed 58 people for this series. I want to thank all of you who participated in Humans of Westknits series. If you are new to my channel and you haven't watched Humans of Westknits, it's basically a series of interviews with knitters just like you, people who participated in this year's Mystery Knit Along by Stephen West called Twists and Turns. So thank you once again. And here is the last chapter of Humans of Westknits.
I've watched all of them so far.
What did you think?
Yeah, really good. Really nice to see different people's perception on what they've done and what they think.
Well, this is your third one that you're doing?
So it would be my third one, but I've backtracked and made a couple of the others.
What did you think about this one in comparison to the previous ones?
Ooh, so the other ones I've knitted a little bit quicker than this one, but yeah, really fun. Definitely different techniques. So I think it's been a bit of a bigger learning curve than the others.
What did you learn this time that you didn't already know? Because you've been knitting for quite a long time, right?
Yeah, so originally I started knitting when I was 16. And then for the last sort of 8 years, it's been solid 8 years knitting. But I think for this, it's more just the techniques involved in it. All the casting on, casting off. It's just all the little technical things that you just think, oh my life, where has he got this from? Where has he thought this up? So yeah, more of that aspect really.
Are you done with all the clues?
No. So I'm still working on number 1. Do you want me to show you?
Yeah, please.
Have a look. Just because of working away and my job. So that's taken up quite a bit of time. So this is still my number 1.
I love those colors.
Thank you. I'm getting there. It's slowly. I've just got 4 repeats left to do, so not too much. So yeah, it's coming on. I'm really enjoying it though. I'm just taking my time with it. But yeah, I've seen the finished shawl. So excited just to get to that stage, hopefully before Christmas.
Do you have any particular clue that excites you the most?
Ooh, I think I've quite enjoyed this first one. And then the next section, just take it bit by bit, really.
Well, you work at Taft, like Martin's very favorite company on the planet. And how do you find time to knit when you're dealing with crochet toys so much?
So at Taft, I work from Monday to Friday, and then people may see me from shows. So I travel around the country doing the shows for Taft. So my knitting is my time outside of work. So Taft is like my job, and then my knitting is my time, is my selfish knitting for myself.
Do you think one day Taft will create Stephen West doll?
Ooh, I don't know. It'd be something to be interested in, excited, but yeah, you never know.
Just an idea, just throwing it out there, maybe.
I've seen one lady who has crocheted a Stephen West doll using one of our books, and it's amazing. I think Stephen might have seen it himself, but it's really fun. So someone has done a Stephen West doll, so that's quite fun.
Well, you mentioned that you will never part with any of Stephen West's shawls. What do you love so much about his designs?
Oh, carefree, just totally carefree. Construction, they're all so different. And I think regardless of which one you make, even if you made it again in different yarns and colours, they'd totally be different to each other. So yeah, just carefree element. That's it, and just go for it. There's no right or wrong.
Do you have a favorite?
My favorite so far is actually my first one I ever made, and that was the Vertices Unite, which I'm making a second time. So yeah, I think that's got a firm favorite spot in my heart, is that one, that first one.
Do you think it's difficult for Stephen to come up with something bigger and better every single year?
It's Stephen, isn't it? He just goes all out. I think it's more like the technique base. There's always something new in it. And even if he's done it before, you're always going to love it because it's his shawls. So yeah, it must be hard to do something bigger and better. But regardless of what it is, I think it would still be amazing.
What attracts you to like the mystery knit along? Like why knit mystery knit along versus just regular Stephen West shawl?
Ooh, this time of year as well, I think we all get that bug of it's that time of year to take part in it. It's something different. I don't mind if it's something I may not like. It's just the learning, the experience of it, and the community element as well. I think I love it so much, seeing everybody's like projects, what they're making, the yarn, what they've used. I really like following it, and especially because I'm quite far behind. It's nice to see like what people have done. So yeah, definitely that element of it.
Did you pick up any new ideas from like the shawls that you've seen other people make?
Oh, there is one lady who has done it in one colour, which is really beautiful. I think it was all creams and she put a mohair in there and it's stunning. Just more sort of that really like colour aspect, what people have used. I love colour and picking yarns. So that for me, yeah, that's really interesting to see people's combinations. You think, oh, I wouldn't have picked that, but that's stunning.
So do you think like you'll ever need this shawl again in different colors?
Ooh, maybe. I think because the colours I've used, I would probably go for something, yeah, maybe just two colours or even the one, because I've seen that, or just one solid colour for the background, but different mohairs. So different mohair colours on top to change it. Yeah, so maybe that sort of aspect if I was going to do it again.
Well, when you pick your personal projects, right, what to knit next, what kind of designs usually attract you?
Oh, it depends, whatever takes my fancy. Because I travel doing shows and yarn shows, I go to a lot of them. I always see different people, like what they're wearing, and also really just diving into Ravelry as well and see what takes my fancy. Like at the moment, I've got 3 shawls on the go. I really want to cast on a jumper that I've got. And it just depends on my mood, really. I'm very much more mood based. So I pick at the time whatever takes my fancy with it. Yeah.
Is it hard for you to like exclusively knit on one project?
I have 2 or 3 on the go. Yeah. I find it hard to pick like just one solid project. But if it's for work base and I'm very much one project at a time, I have to do that. So I'm two very different people in that regards. Like for work, one project has to be done on time. But for myself, whatever takes my fancy. Yeah.
Well, one of the favorite things I saw that Martin was covering about the tufts was that butterfly that everybody came and knitted, like crocheted a spot to put on the wings of the butterfly that you guys did. Do you feel like you're meeting new people through this mystery knit along as well? Like it's sort of those spots each one of us did like one little spot on that wings of the butterfly.
Definitely. I've spoke to a couple of people, especially like on Instagram, just complimenting on their shawls, and you get to talk to people like from across the world who you would never have met. Like you don't interact with these people day to day. And it's people's first shawls, or they've seen you knitting something, they want a bit of help. And it's the same like the spots on the butterfly. It is that community base. So yeah, definitely meeting lots of new people, which is really nice.
Well, are you like 100% sure you're doing next year's Mystery Knit Along already?
Oh yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, definitely. What about yourself?
Um, it's funny because it's been very intense couple months. Like I've met so many people, I interviewed so many people, and I really it was different for me because like I expected it to be completely different. This was my very first Mystery Knit Along. And what I thought it's gonna be, I thought that I'm gonna like knit the whole clue in one day and then just sit and wait on the sides and see what's gonna happen. And I hardly was managing to keep on time because of so many interviews I've done and so much editing that was put into that. And there was a lot of knitting, like surprisingly so on the first and second clue, there was like a lot of knitting there. So it was like different from what I expected, but I really, really enjoyed it. And I can't wait for Martin to finish so we can, because I'm
I
still
know.
waiting for him to finish.
Yeah, I know. He hasn't said he's finished yet, but I keep looking. I keep looking.
I think his shawl is going to be like absolutely spectacular. And I hope Mark loves it because Mark was the one to do all the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if he doesn't want it, I'll have it. So
Did you anticipate that it was going to be so big, that there would be so many people that would join? And yeah, did you anticipate that, do you think?
My idea that night, so I was like driving Martin crazy, right? Because I was trying to think, okay, like Martin is gonna do Blacktober, what on earth am I gonna do, right? So one day I'm waking up, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I'm waking up and I'm like, Martin, I have this brilliant beyond brilliant idea. Like, what if I actually interviewed people who participate in this MKAL? And he's like, yeah, like that's a great idea.
Yeah,
So I did the call, right? Open call, like join me if you're interested. And I thought it's gonna be like 5, 7 people, something like this. So I was like, I'm gonna do my initial idea. I was like, I'm gonna do bits and pieces, like just 1 minute here, 1 minute there, and just like show the variety, right?
yeah,
And then like as soon as I did this call, I think like first call, like 12 people emailed me right away. So I was like, okay, like it's gonna be a few minutes each. And then I start doing interviews and I realized that I'm not good at 2 minute interviews. Like, it's like I want to know more. I want to know like what else is going on, right? So
yeah,
like, well, I'm not doing justice to these people. Like they were brave enough to volunteer to be with me. And like all I'm showing like one sentence, like that doesn't make sense. So it's like, okay, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna break it into 2 chapters. So I'm gonna do like 5, 6 people per chapter, right? And I did that, but people kept emailing. Like after the first one went public, like people start emailing me like, oh, I want to do that. I want to do that.
yeah,
So I was like, okay, I'm going to do it until the start of the MCAL. Like that makes sense to like just continue for a month until the start, right? So I did 4 chapters, but then people kept on emailing me. And I was like, well, maybe I should do the clues. Like we can discuss the clues. So it's like none of it was planned, but like
mm,
I think in my life is sort of like that. This whole canon
yeah,
like that.
yeah.
Uh,
And I think if we knew what our plan was going to be, we wouldn't believe it, would we? I think that's spot on. I did wonder though whether you'd planned it to be this much, or but there's been so many people, Irina. It's been so fun. And there's something about not just interacting through chatting on a forum like Instagram or Ravelry or whatever. There's something about seeing people and getting to know you and Martin even more, and being able to see Westknits last week was just, and Linda, it was just icing on the cake. So yeah, it's been so good. It's been so good.
I really loved it because also like, you know what surprised me? The amount of people like from different parts of the world. Like it was so,
Yeah,
and different amount of experience. Like I had people who like learned to knit in July, and I had people who knitted everything that Stephen ever created. You know, it's like it was everything in between, this entire spectrum. It was just absolutely fascinating to me.
Yeah. And I think calling it humans, I loved that. I really loved that because I think we forget that we're all humans, you know, and we focus on the differences that we have sometimes. But at the end of the day, that is all we are. But we're all joined by the Westknits.
Well,
Fun.
what was your experience this year in comparison to all the previous ones?
Well, I think you know, at the beginning, so September is when I start getting excited about it, or probably August. I start going, oh, in September, I need to choose my colors, and that's going to be fun. And I have a few friends online who I chat with back and forth about what colors are you going to choose, and we share each other. You know, so the excitement starts to build then, and it does feel like Christmas at that point. And some years I know exactly what I'm doing straight away. So, for example, I've got some of them out. My lighting isn't very good. It's a really dark day and I've got loads of lights on, but it's still not great. So this was the Speckle and Pop from 2017, and you're seeing it looks really dull. It's more of a sort of minty green. And so for this year, I knew exactly what I was doing straight away. I had these 3 skeins from on the tip of my tongue, can't remember, but I knew what I was doing, and I had all these pops that I could use, and that was really easy. Same with Texture Time. I saw this yarn from Fru Valborg, and so most of the fingering weight is all Fru Valborg, and I already had bought this beautiful Ching fiber melted baby suri to use. So that, oh, that's the wrong side. So that as well, I knew what I was going to do. So most of the time, I feel like I know straight away what I'm going to do. But then some years I question myself. And that happened with the slip extravaganza, which I ended up making 2 of.
Right.
And then this year, I ended up doing loads of swatches because when I looked at it in the skein, I thought, oh, I know what I want. It looks great. And then I knit a swatch and I didn't like it. So these colors I had from Stash, and because I only had 2 in Stash of the pink and 2 of the blue already, and less than 100 grams of this beautiful orange, I thought, well, I've got almost exactly the right amount of yarn and I don't want to break into a sweater quantity. And I do have so much yarn. I just thought, no, this year I really want to try a new Stash. So this was already probably my heart favorite when I was doing all those swatches. By the way, I did extra I cords yesterday. I just love them.
Was it
But
like
then I doubted myself. Yeah.
was
Yeah,
it
I
like
doubted myself. I thought maybe I need to do something different color-wise. But I had knitted this t-shirt in the summer using sort of those sorts of colors. And I thought, well, if I knit this shawl, then it will go with it. So yeah.
was it like difficult for you with the first clue because it was so labor intensive? And I remember talking to you how like when you knitted 2 shawls because you didn't want to wait for the next clue, so you knitted 2 at the same time.
Yeah.
Was this year different in that respect?
No, and this year, because I had gone a bit frantic with the swatching and I'd got a bit kind of obsessive and intense about choosing my colors, that had used a lot of energy of digging through my stash and winding yarn. And as we said in one of my previous interviews with you, I have a myalgic encephalomyelitis, which means I run out of energy really fast if I do the slightest thing, so that I have to be really careful pacing my energy. So just looking through stash and winding yarn can take a lot out of me. So after all of that excitement in September, I thought, right, when it comes to the knitting, I need to slow myself down, not be competitive, don't try and knit too. And you know, it's a joke in my family. As soon as my brother found out what this mystery knit along was, he was like, right, how many are you knitting? Are you are you racing ahead of everyone else? Have you finished the clue before everybody? Because everybody in my family knows how in the past I've been very competitive.
Right.
And it does seem ridiculous with knitting to be like that, but it is what it is. But no, this year overall, so clue one, once I realized how long it was going to take, I just took a deep breath and thought, it's fine. Even if I don't finish on time, it really is fine. And most of the time I really did feel quite calm about it. And I finished this last Thursday, Friday, so a week after the last clue was released. And I thought, wow, I went really quite slowly for me. And I still finished it on time, kind of, whatever. But yeah, so it was all right.
You think like seeing Martin talking about embracing your pace helped you to relax through this process?
Definitely, yeah, definitely. Just having that reminder. Because when Stephen says embrace your own pace, I think there's something that goes off in my head that's just like, yeah, whatever. I'm still gonna go fast. But and I do have lots and lots of whips on the go and things I want to cast on. So that prevented me from knitting 2 this year. I actually do really want to make another one. I want to make one for my mum in colours that she loves. She loves all the turquoises and pinks together, similar to me, but not quite the same. And because of how it is, I'd love to do one that's got like turquoise and purple in the first clue, and then with pops of hot pink or something like that. I think that would look really nice. So I do actually want to make another one. But no, it was so fun. When we did this strip, we all were just wondering what on earth was going on. And I don't think any of his clues before, or any of his shawls before that I have knit, have at that point of the mystery been so like, what the hell are we doing?
Well,
So
did you doubt his design at any point? Did you like,
oh
question,
yeah,
will I like it?
I'm terrible. I mean, because I'm really grateful now that I've done quite a few, because I was able to trust him more. But I can see that if this was your first one, you might well think, well, God, this is just not for me, because it does seem so out there.
Was there a particular clue that you like absolutely loved?
Like the first day or two of a new clue, I get grumpy because I'm doing something that I have to really concentrate on, and I feel like it's going quite slowly. So the first day or two of each clue, I'd be grumpy, and then once I kind of got a bit quicker at it, I would cheer up about it and go, oh yeah, this is really fun, and then it would go back to the first kind of grumpy feeling again, and then it'd be like, oh yeah, this is really fun. But actually, I think clue 4 went really fast. I, like you, I've never cabled without a cable needle before, but I did for clue 3, and I really loved that flow that you get into with it. But then clue 4, I felt, especially with how the rows kind of got less and less and less. Yeah, it went really nice and quickly. But I can see myself wearing this a lot.
Right.
And I don't know if you've seen Pink Queen Yarns, Ines. She's one of Stephen's test knitters, and I've met her at Edinburgh Yarn Festival a couple of times. But she does incredible. I mean, I don't know how she must knit so fast, but she's done some beautiful embellishments on the bottom of the braids where she's got pom-poms. So I was going to do that, and then I was showing my mum this, and she's like, you should do fish. So look what's arrived. I'm going to put fish on my shawl.
Oh, that's gonna be
and I know it's ridiculous, but
well, I mean, I just discovered that was a new discovery to me after you watched my interview with Eric Spear. You were like, oh, I used to scuba dive a lot, and was like, okay, every day I'm learning something new and amazing about Ross,
Oh, I mean, when I used to work as a management consultant and earn lots of money, that I didn't love my job, but I could afford ridiculously nice holidays, and that was what kind of kept me going. I think a lot of people are like that, who work in jobs that they don't love but feel they have to do to pay the bills. Right. You have really nice holidays, and I started scuba diving in my 20s, and yeah, it was, if I could breathe underwater, I would become a mermaid. I just love it. So anyway, once this was all finished and I took that photo of wearing it, and I just thought, this does look like the ocean with the sun coming in and coral reefs. And my mum was like, yeah. She said, you should put fish on it. So I'm going to
can't
do
wait
that.
to see that. That's
I
gonna
know, I'm going to have fish.
yeah.
And yeah, I'm not quite sure where, but I think I might have them hanging off here. And then I might also have them in, like, maybe in between the cables and things like that. But yeah,
Well, one of the
I
questions
think it'll be
I
fun.
ask a lot of people is like, has Stephen changed you as a knitter, and has he changed your life? Do you feel like this year been more influential, different somehow in that respect? Do you feel like something changed with you this year in comparison to other years?
Uh, in some ways, I would say yes. He definitely, when I first discovered him in 2017, when I joined Instagram, that was the biggest change probably. Where up until that point, I hadn't appreciated how creative you could be with knitting. And I've ended up, so I just got like this, for example, this is quite sea-like as well. This is a penguin I knit for my son. But just like all the different yarns you can use, and the way that, yeah, so he, in general, he informs how I knit and the choices I make a lot now, especially with colors and just doing what you feel like. But this year, I haven't done as many really colorful things. Now I say that, and I'm probably going to kick myself afterwards, but I haven't done as many multi-colorful knits, and it was just really nice to get back to that. You don't know where you're going with it, and you're going to use colors you love, and the not knowing what the pattern's going to be is freeing, because you're having to trust the process. And I think being forced to do that is a really psychologically helpful thing. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, I think it was probably exactly what I needed creatively at that moment in time, and it was like a breath of fresh air for me.
Are you joining us next year again?
Of course I am. I don't promise that next year I'm going to be as chilled about it, though. I feel like it was quite weird for me to be so relaxed this year about it all, but maybe next year I might be a bit more silly about it. It depends whether I have instant color choices or not in September.
Right.
But do you think you'll do a similar thing, or do you?
Well,
I
it's
mean, it
funny
is
because
such an investment of time.
I was talking to Martin about it, and I said, Martin, how are we topping this next year? You know, it's like we put so much of ourselves into the year, Mr. Knit-along, that like, what are we gonna do next year? And he said, well, when we started this year, we had absolutely no idea what we were doing. So maybe next year something new will come to us. So
yeah, I can't wait. And I think one of the reasons to keep going, even when you feel grumpy about it, is how proud you are afterwards of what you finished. Like, I would say for each one, I have doubted what I'm doing, the colors I've chosen, what the pattern is, whether there's any point in carrying on. But with each one I've knit, definitely last year's one, I was like, what? You know, with the shrimps and everything. But now I'm really proud of them, and they're like a collection. And a lot of people say, "Oh, you never wear your mystery shawls." I wear all of my mystery shawls, all of them. Yeah, don't let the naysayers put you off.
tell me how you loving this year's Mr. Knit-along.
How am I loving this year's mystery knit along? Well, it is a it's a love hate, and hate's a strong word. Love's not strong enough. I love it.
What was unexpected that you didn't know what's happening?
Hey, you know what was awful though? Okay, I'm sorry. Was I had to figure out how to knit the purl part, like that purl part. No. And I had to reconfigure it by myself to figure out how to knit it instead of purl. And I'm not a very technical knitter, right? And so when I was working on this and trying to figure out how to make it knit instead of purl, I got exercise minutes on my Fitbit from my anxiety, from like my heart was pounding so hard that I got like 20 minutes of exercise, like worried, is this going to work? Is this going to work? And then it did. And then it was totally fine. But
well, why did you have to escape that purl section? Like, was it the same problem as Martin's? Was your tension different?
No, I just I don't like purling. It kind of hurts. I don't have a good purl technique at all. It's terrible. And so it hurts my elbow really to do it over and over and over and over and over again. And I was like, well, there's got to be something else. I have to be able to figure this out somehow. And someone had told me that it was possible to do that, but I didn't want to go to the forums because I'm a person who doesn't do spoilers at all. And so I didn't want to see anything. So I'm like, well, I guess I got to figure this out myself.
Was it difficult not to see any spoilers? Because I mean, the Instagram is like drowned in spoilers, right? Like every place you go, there are spoilers.
I stay off of social media as much as I possibly can. I am very open with everybody. Do not talk to me about this. Like, I will talk to you about it when I'm ready, but don't send me pictures. Don't give me your opinions. I don't want to hear anything about it. I am a line by line person. I won't read ahead in the pattern. I don't want to watch the video. I want to do it completely blind, and I enjoy it more that way. So
where are you now?
I am on the last clue. I did the twisted rib on the border.
So, okay, like I have a question about it, and I sort of was giving hard time to Stephen about it. There is one place where the cable section goes, right? That if you just go line by line on the pattern and you don't watch the video, you're going to make a mistake, most likely, and the cables are not going to align. Did you run into these kind of issues?
Yeah, I did, actually. Thanks for asking that, because it absolutely did happen. I did not watch the videos as much as I possibly could. I tried to avoid it, and I definitely got like my cable. Oh, I can show it, right? My cables are not quite lined up with my stripes, especially on the first one, because I didn't know that's how it was supposed to be. And so it didn't really work out, but that's okay. I don't care. That doesn't bother me at all.
Was there like any part of the pattern that you found difficult technically? Like, did anything stump you?
Not really. And I don't mean that like, I just knit a lot. I knit like probably 12 hours a day, and I have knit almost every single one of Stephen's shawls. And so there isn't a whole lot that came up that I didn't know how to do. But I mean, I found it fascinating, especially the way that he did the little cable braid things going on. That's amazing. That's incredible. I've never done that before. I've never seen anybody do it before. I've never heard of that. So
are you very competitive when it comes to your knitting? Like, is that why you're knitting 12 hours a day?
Like competitive? No, I just don't have any other part of my personality. Like, that's all I do. It's just, I like knitting. And so I do it as much as I possibly can. And, but when it comes to the Steve, I mean, I knit 12 hours a day all year round. Right. And so it's not, I don't know. I'm not an embrace your pace person. When it comes to the Westknits, I have to be done by the time each clue comes. Like, I will knit until my fingers fall off to get it done. So
was it stressing you out that you're not done after the last clue came out?
No, not at all. After the last clue comes out, I completely just, whenever it gets done, a lot of times I don't finish these shawls until September of the next year. I give myself the entire year to do that, but I'm always done before the next one comes out.
Right.
So.
What was interesting for you like this year in comparison to previous ones? Like, did anything change? Because this is my very first mystery knit along, so I'm really curious, was it any different from the previous years?
Was it any different from the previous years? Well, I've been doing them since the Doodler. That was my very first one, and I've done all of them since. Actually, the biggest difference I've noticed this year between all the other years is the amount of negativity. Like, it was such a negative experience to go to the forums. After I would figure out what it would look like, I'd go to the forums and I'd be like, you guys are all grumpy, like just quit knitting it then, you know what I mean? Like a lot of negative.
Well,
You don't have to,
you know what? I'm actually curious about that, because to me, like knitting this for the first time and not knowing what I'm knitting, at the beginning, I was like really excited about the first clue. Then the second clue, I was like, I don't know, like not my cup of tea really. And the third clue came out and I was like, where is that going? Like, I can't even imagine what it's going to be. And then the fourth clue came out and I was like, oh my God, I love it. Do you think like people who are very negative about it, who are like hated from get-go, cheat themselves out of that experience, that maybe at the end they would love it if they just stick with the process?
Right. I mean, yeah, I mean, definitely. I did see that happen a couple times. But I genuinely think that if you don't like knitting something, then you don't have to knit it, right? Like it's not a big deal. And I do wonder that though. I do wonder that. Do people regret it when they have been so negative about it, or they quit or whatever? Do they regret it, or do they feel good about it? Maybe they look at it and go, oh, I'm glad I didn't make that. But for me personally, I don't care what it looks like. I'm knitting it. Stephen could put out 25 clues and they could all be an entire skein long and I would make them all because I am devoted.
Well, what is it about Stephen that have you be such a fan?
One year I just didn't have anything to knit and I couldn't think of anything. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do the Doodler Mystery Knit Along. Sure, why not? Just throw some crappy yarn together and it'll be fine. Just as a joke, basically. And I loved it. I fell in love. I have knit basically only Stephen West projects ever since. I love Stephen and I don't know each other, just to be clear.
Yes.
Have a similar like knitting philosophy, which is just do whatever you want, use whatever colors, and then it'll probably be okay. You know, you don't need to swatch, just like whatever. And that's how I've always been. And, you know, because I'm not really technical, like I just kind of whatever. So Stephen West has that same attitude of like, just, yeah, whatever, it'll probably be okay. Just add a stitch, just, you know, make it work. It's okay. And that's who I am as a person.
Well, you know what I find interesting about Stephen, and I actually was asking him about that, because on one hand, yes, he does have that like, don't worry about anything, relax, don't stress attitude. On the other hand, all his finishes are like absolutely pristine. There is never like, and when he's saying like, oh, extra stitch, like you fudge it, it's calculated so precisely. All these I-cords make like very clean finishes. Every transition is like very well thought through. So he has this like combination of not worrying and like being freehand on one hand, but also very technically sophisticated on another hand. Do you notice that for yourself, like when you knit it?
I am always blown away by the ability that he has to do math. Like I can barely add. So he'll be like, you know, oh, do this 125 times. And then later we come back to it and he's figured out the math to make it all work perfectly. And I'm like, that's amazing. Cause I can't count to save my life. Right. So, but I am not like that at all. My brain does not work that way. That's why I'm more of a, you know, just that's why I knit other people's designs instead of designing my own, because I'm not like that. But I do notice that he is like the way that his mind works, not just with art, but with math as well, is beyond what I'm capable of, for sure.
Well, you have a YouTube channel as well, right?
Yes, I do.
Do you cover Stephen West designs on your channel? Do you talk about it?
Yeah, that's basically all I talk about on my channel is Stephen West. In fact, my sister and I do our channel together. And so we just recently did a video where we showed all of our Stephen West knits that we've ever made. And it took about 2 hours for us to go through all of them. Because we've been knitting them since 2015, 14. I mean, that's basically all we knit. We knit. So yeah, my YouTube channel is all about my West knits, basically. And it's the same hot mess that you're seeing here.
Well, if you had a chance to spend the day with Stephen, like, how do you imagine that?
I don't think that I would want to. And I think that sounds really mean, but I don't mean it that way because I love Stephen West. I love him. And I think he's so great and so fun, but I want to keep that image of him. Like, I don't want to hang out with him. And then what if he does something, you know, that I don't like, you know what I mean? Like, and I'll be like, oh, remember that time Stephen did this? Remember that time, you know? And I don't like to, you know, does that make sense? Like, I don't really like to meet my heroes Not that he's my
You know
hero,
what?
but
I think he would be an exception to that rule. I don't think he would disappoint you.
I've heard amazing things about Steven. Amazing. I've never heard anybody say anything bad about him a day in his like ever. And I love that. I love that. And I would like to keep that way. Steven is a lot of person, and I'm a very quiet, introverted person. And I think that it would be a lot.
Does it surprise you like to see the variety of people who are attracted to his designs? Because you have like, if you look at people who need Stephen West shawls, you have like absolutely like representation of the entire population of the earth, basically. Like you have very shy people, you have very outgoing people, you have young, you have old, you have like people from all over the world. Does that surprise you, his popularity?
Not at all. Not at all. I think that he's very, even though he's very, a lot, I think that he's got so much that people resonate with. Like if I think Steven and I would get along really great if I had a totally different personality. If I was like more outgoing and like just, yeah, absolutely. But I think that there's, no, it doesn't surprise me. There's something for everybody, And he does say things like, oh yeah, just grab whatever color you want. And people are turned off by these bright colors. But when you start knitting them in more, neutrals, people go, oh wow, yeah, okay, cool, I can get on board with that. So no, yeah, I think that he's got a universal appeal for that reason.
If somebody like not sure if Westknit designs and especially Mystery Knit Along is for them, like what would be your advice?
I think everybody should do them first of all. I try to convince everybody that I know that they should do them because I want to do them with people. Maybe they are for everybody. Stephen West Mystery Knit-alongs require you to really let go and trust the process and be okay with just going along with whatever happens. But I think that part of the appeal for me for the Mystery Knit-alongs is that I get at the end this giant shawl that I would not have knit otherwise. If he put out the shawlography or any of these shawls and said, here's a shawl, I wouldn't have made it. It's a lot of knitting. It's a lot of work. And I'm not a lot of work kind of person, right? I like instant gratification. And so the Mystery Knit-alongs are a way that I can actually have these pieces without feeling the dread beforehand of, oh my God, how much knitting is that going to be? How long is that going to take? That's going to take me. I don't have that amount of time, And so for me, I think that they're great for people who, want large items without the initial upfront commitment of, I have to slip how many stitches? How much purling is there? Oh my God. So my favorite Mystery Knit-along that I did of his of all times was Building Blocks. And that was so much knitting. It was ridiculous. It's my favorite shawl. I wear it all of the time. I would never knit it again. And I would never knit it if he had like just put it out. And I would have been like, no, that's not happening. That's too much knitting.
Now that you're like almost at the end of the twists and turns, do you think that that would be a shawl that you would need if it wasn't part of the Mystery Knit-along?
I think that, I love it. I love the way that it's coming together. I think that knowing that I would have to cast off and bind off all those little pieces would be the end of it for me. I would be like, nope, that's not working. I'll find a way around that, but I'm not doing that. And I'm amazed by people who are. They're like, oh wow, now I'm gonna knit that shawl. And I'm like, yeah, guys, good for you. I would not have made it through that had I not had the deadline. Right. So
well, is there a chance for you not joining it next year, or you already know 100% you're doing it?
As long as I have hands and he puts them out, I will be making them. I don't care. No, I'm gonna make them. It doesn't matter to me. If he says it's, all brioche in 75 colors, I'm there. I'm going to figure it out. We're doing it. This is great.
Have your shawl somewhere next to you?
Yes, I do. Can I just turn my camera? So this is my overall for the point where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my original choice. This is a little bit of variegated, this sort of cream and light brown, and a dark brown is my main color. I use my accent color is this rose, but I thought it was a bit too boring, so I decided to put some color in it, and I like it better.
Yeah.
And in this strip that I liked a lot to do. I wanted to maybe try to put each row here, these 2 colors, these 5 colors, but it was an insane job, just like twisting the cords, twisting the yarn. So no, let's leave it simple.
Right.
And it is actually lots of fun.
Have you done the MKAL before? Like as
I have the previous one, and this one here. Let me show you the shallography. And I loved it. That's why I decided to try this one again. And I was not going to, but you said, "Oh, you should try. So I did it. You're such a bad influence in all of us. It is a bad good influence.
Sorry, not sorry. I'll take the blame for that.
No. Actually, for the first time, we have done several knit-alongs in all these years. But for the first time, we are actually a group of 3 that we are gathering here on our store every Saturday. And we've been knitting, and we've been changing, and we've been discussing, and that's what it's all about, I think.
Right.
This meeting people and talking to people, even though people like you, we're 10,000 miles away, or Stephen Weber, or maybe I'm just scrolling in through the YouTube for any class or anything I'm interested in, keep knitting, and it's sort of fun. Or Martin's 365 recordings. So it's in a little bit twisted way. It's like knitting together.
Right. Well,
so
how is it different for you this year from last year? Like, does anything seems different, or is it like the same exact thing?
Well, thank God it's different, because it would be too boring if we're expecting to be the same. The thing I liked it for last year is that every clue from the first clues, second and so forth, they were getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because it was a half round shawl. And so you start very small, and this one, on the contrary, you start big. I mean, with this chevron, I love this chevron. I love the texture, and I love the loops. Actually, these loops we knew because it was quite of when we began with our yarn shop some 17 years ago. We had this a very standard scarf, and we did, in the central part of the scarf, we did this hook and looping, which is sort of fun. And I love this. And in the beginning, I thought when you guys were like a little ahead of us, you say, "Oh, it's a little bit too big or too tiring," and I thought, yes, maybe it is so. But looking at the end, we have over 170 stitches, and it's like a back sweater.
Right.
And it's actually, knitting a sweater like this would be as boring as, sometimes it gets a little common, back and forth. The only thing that the part I liked the least was the short row garter stitch, because it was a bit too simple, but actually I added some colors, and it's also good because you can relax a bit. No need in counting this much for the chevrons and for the binding off and casting on, biting off and casting on. So it can, after the first glue, you could relax a bit. And overall, I think it's not my favorite. The shape is unique. Again, it's different. And thank God he's crazy. And thank God he does
do you
different
think like
things.
it's something that like if you just saw this design, right?
Yeah.
Would you be tempted to knit it, or like if it wasn't mystery knit along, you would never do it?
As I told you, I love the mystery thing. It's part of the fun. So probably I will do the next one next year, no matter what. This is not the first or the second of my favorite. I like the Chrysler. I like Starflakes and Slip Extravaganza. I've never needed them, but I would prefer them before this one.
Right.
But it's fun. But it is official. I have never needed so many high cords before.
Right. Well, what amazes me, like, and I was talking to you about it a little bit, and Stephen was talking about it. There are people from literally all over the world who are knitting that. Like you in Brazil, and your store is knitting it, right? He was talking about that Santiago, Chile is a big place for this knit along, in Japan. And I had people from New Zealand, from Australia, from Africa, from Europe, like from all over the place. You know, does that amaze you, like that his popularity is so global?
It doesn't amaze me anymore because I've known Stephen West for quite some time now. The first time I ever heard his name was a friend of ours, Anna. She came with this, I think it is a sweater, and maybe it's Enchanted Mesa or something like this. It was a very in diagonal sweater, and it's different because it's like you don't have the shoulders, it's a little bit different. And it was way too different from what were used to. And after you scroll his pages and you see his designs, and it is fun. It is expected that someone would make this success, and doing what he does is sort of pleasant to know that even he's in Amsterdam, and even though he's a knitter, and he still unite people over a common project, and it's nice. It is nice to see that so many people talk about this. We had two girlfriends here that they gave up as soon as they saw the final project. They were not much in love with this design, so they decided, oh, we'll do something else. No problem. And it's okay also. I mean, you cannot please everybody all the time, but
I mean, to me, honestly, it was the fun of it was not necessarily even in the final design,
right?
But like in the process of knitting it, it was just like very. He kept you on your toes, and you didn't know until the end. Like, I mean, when Clue 3 came out, everybody was like, "Where the heck are we going with these strips? Like, what's gonna happen?" Like, it was really a mystery,
Yes. I watch your channel, and that was it. It puzzled me also. What is he going to do with this strip and all that stuff, and what with the final loops in the chevron and glue, and it's part of the fun, the part of being mysterious.
Right.
And
do you think, like, when you're looking at the other people's projects now, Is there like some colors that you like, or why didn't I choose that? Like, do you see anybody's colors that you like more than yours?
Yeah, there were several I liked a lot. You know something, when he was explaining us and trying to to tell us how we should pick our colors, the most difficult part was the accent color, because the accent color could mean something to make a different contrast, or maybe, but I've seen the best shawls I've seen where this accent color was actually in the same family of the two previous ones. There is this sort of golden, yellowish, brownish ochre shawl that I loved it. I can't remember who did it. I tried to show a customer today and I couldn't find, because if you don't favor it, if you don't save it, I mean it's lost in the web. And but I like the feel. I like a feel.
Right. How many people in your store you think you're gonna convince to join you next year? Like, are you planning to make it bigger and better next year?
Oh, who knows? Well, we still have some time to work out until then. Um, um, I don't know. It's hard to say. Um, there's one thing that bothers me a bit, because for this particular shawl, because it well, this MKAL is for the month of October, so it's supposed to finish in 1 month. Normally, I'd say yes, it's okay, but it was a bit too difficult, some parts. And um, this particular shawl, thank God there was this the videos that he made that are actually just perfect. I mean, he's so kind. His voice is so soft, and he's so joyful, and he explains it, and he shows it more than once. He shows whether you are a continental or English or neither, and so this helps a lot. And I I saw the last video you and Martin made with um, his knitting coordinator and himself.
Yeah.
That I've never thought of the beta testers, that they do knit without these videos. This one I found it particularly more important to have this video as you know, solving doubts and problems.
Yeah,
Photography not so much.
There were a couple spots that if you didn't have this video, it wouldn't perhaps look the way it
Right,
was.
right. And but he's a showman, and he's so joyful, and it's so pleasant to watch his and his this the videos he had, they were like an hour long, and I mean he could and he just watch like this, and it's, you know, it's fun. It's lots of fun.
Does he inspire you somehow business-wise? Because he's a very savvy business person, like the way he runs his store. Like, do you get any ideas and inspirations from him?
Yes, like for instance, this chevron, it's like it's so beautiful, and the texture and the movement it makes. So it's always inspiring for people. Even shellography, you can show what how a two-color brioche would do, or maybe short rows, there's German short rows, and you can show here this a regular short rows without resolving the eyelets. And I mean, you can show the textures, and you can show the mixture of colors, and for customers to decide what project would they be willing to knit? Yes.
You think you're gonna offer kits next year for your customers?
That's one of the most one of the questions people ask me the most, and we always are a little bit reluctant in making kits. I know it sells, but I'd rather help people in resolving their own dilemmas with colors or with yarns, instead of just pick this kit with these three colors or with this three colors. I would rather think that we would give support and we help, but I think it's a personal thought actually. We think that the customer should try to make the customer's mind himself or herself.
Well, when you looked at his kits, right, the ones that his store offered this year, was there anything that jumped at you that you were like, oh my God, like these are the colors I want to knit with, or you're too rebellious for that and you want to go your own way?
I actually just listened for the introductory video for the colors, just to have an idea how to pick one or other three colors for myself. And as I showed you before, from the three original colors, I actually had leftovers from my shawlography, the 5 different colors, and I put a little bit of those 5 colors there. But I've seen him with some more than the colors is the materials. Some were really shiny and pretty.
Yeah,
I would pick something that would be shine with maybe with mohair, maybe with silk, and he has got some pretty yarns there.
did you enjoy the Humans of Westknits series? Did you think it was interesting?
Yes, it was such a brilliant idea. It was nice. I didn't have much time to watch as soon as they went on air, but I did see the four of them, yes, and the one with Stephen West, and it was nice, and it was also surprising. I found out that there's this lady who was a new knitter
Right.
since last July, right?
Yeah. That
Bold person. I clap. And I like that. I like that.
Well, I'm so happy you are one of the Humans of Westknits, and I'm glad I convinced you to join.
Thank you for inviting me, and thank you for inviting me to the channel again. I hope that maybe in the near future we can meet as soon as all this pandemic and all this flight things. I don't know about there in the US, but flights here in Brazil are way up too high still.
Very expensive.
I mean, prices have changed a lot, and yes, but it would be so nice to start meeting in person people that we have met during this pandemic.
Yeah, well, hopefully one day we'll take a picture with all of our twists and turns.
Yeah.
You're gonna be my very last Human of Westknits, and I just counted. I interviewed 58 people participated in it. So
wow. It's been a busy time, but it's been so successful though, hasn't it, Irina? I mean, it's been an amazing it's just been an amazing experience for me from start to finish, because I'm not very au fait with Ravelry, and even though I am in Stephen West's, you know, the chat that he had going on, I'm not sure how to drop my photograph in or whatever, so I just did it on YouTube or Instagram, you know, just added the photographs as I went along. Well, I didn't, because obviously it was like sneaky peeks and whatever. You didn't want to give it the whole thing away, because obviously people didn't want to know. So,
Right.
but I'm so proud of myself, because as like you, it's your face, Westknits, isn't it, as well? So I'm so proud of myself. I don't know about how you feel. It's like when I completed it, it was like, yes, I've done it.
Are you surprised? Because like to me, it was very surprising. Like what I expected from it was nothing like what happened. So I thought it's gonna be like very short clues for the first and second, and I'm gonna be done in 1 day, 2 day stops, and I'm gonna be sitting there waiting and editing and what have you. And I didn't have time to breathe, basically. It was like very top heavy, very intense.
I think I kind of knew that it would be an intense, because of what's happened in the previous years. You know, even though I've not taken part, I've followed the process, and I kind of knew that there'd be a lot to it, because he never does small shawls. His shawls are elaborate. They're very artistic, and that's what I like about his shawls. They're very he throws all colours at them, all different textures, and because of the mixed media background that I come from, that's what I enjoy, because I used to play with a lot of different textures, a lot of different mediums, colours and whatever. So I really enjoyed this. I kind of enjoyed every part of it, because I learned something new from everything, you know, from each clue. Even though I've been knitting a long time, you learn something new all the time, and I really am proud of my shawl, and I'm so happy with the colours, how they turned out as well. So I've got mine behind me.
Well, you'll show it in a second, but I want to ask you first, was there like any clue that you didn't particularly enjoy, or was there a favorite clue that like was something you really enjoyed?
The part that I really enjoyed was the cabling, because I love cables anyway. I don't think there was anything. I think the clue 1, I found it a bit tedious, casting on and casting off, but then again, you know, it was not once we watched clue 1 and then got to the end and he showed what you did with it, it kind of gave me the incentive then to get on and get it, because I wanted to do that braiding. I wanted to do that with the cast on, cast off, because when you know you're knitting the first kind of, you know, 4 and you're casting off, casting on, casting off, casting on, and I thought, you know, I couldn't rack my brain around why is this, and but you know, when you got to the end of the video and he showed you what to do with them, it was like, and I did cheat. I went to the end because I just had to have a look and see what we did with all these cast on, cast off, and then that gave me the, you know, the right, come on, let's get it done so I can do it. You know, it kind of egged me on to get it finished.
Well, did you feel competitive, because like you could see other people posting spoilers and like all this social media? Did you feel like you were under pressure to knit faster, more, to get to the end of the clue before the next clue release? Like, was it stressing you at all?
No, it never stressed me out at all. I'm a quick knitter anyway, so I just went at my own pace. You know, as Martin says, embrace your pace. And I wasn't always kind of clue 2 came out on the Thursday and I finished clue 1 on the Thursday, so I didn't start clue 2 till the day after. But you know, kind of I just knitted at my own pace, and I really enjoyed it. I kind of and then when Martin put up a disaster. I was like, oh my God, what's he done wrong? You know, what's happened? And then when he was saying about his purling, well, I'd done the knit part and I was on the purl part, and I was thinking, so I checked, and my purling tension is the same as my knit tension. So I was like, phew, thank goodness for that. You know, my tension's okay, and that. And but I really did enjoy it, and doing the side strips. And when we had to do the side strips, I'm thinking, what are these going to be? What are these going to be attached to next? And then obviously it all came together then. But I really enjoyed. I've really embraced the I-cord. I'm sitting knitting, and I'm finishing off a sweater at the moment, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I don't know what about when you're knitting. Does your mind wander and think about other things? You know, what you can incorporate, what you've just learnt into something else. And I'm sat there and thinking, I wonder what I could incorporate that I-cord in. And you know, I'm thinking of all these things and whatever and that. But yeah, on the whole, I really enjoyed the experience, and I'm only sorry I never started to do his MKALs before this year. I've jumped in with both feet, and I'm going to do the Hyber knit along. I've ordered the yarn. The book is on its way. So
that Aurora shawl is like absolutely stunning.
Oh yeah, well, this time I've gone for purples for the Hyber. I've ordered it for the yarn from a UK company. In fact, the same company that I bought the yarn for this one, because the taxes from Denmark to here, I fell off my chair when I got because I have ordered off. I've treated myself. I've never done brioche before, so I treated myself to his workshop.
Yeah,
and I bought the pattern for the branching brioche shawl, and I ordered the yarn. And I thought, well, I want the same yarn he's using for this brioche, so I've ordered a different colour. And when the yarn come, I nearly died with the taxes. I mean, postage is so expensive; it's ridiculous, isn't it? And that just adds to the amount you pay for your yarn. So I thought, well,
do you think you're gonna keep this shawl for yourself, or do you?
Oh yeah, I've done a video actually of the shawl, and I've got a winter coat, and I purposely picked the yarn to go with my winter coat. So I went out in the garden, and my husband, he took a video of me wearing the shawl, and you could see it goes absolutely. This is mine. This is not going anywhere. That's my shawl.
Okay,
after all,
show us your shawl. Show my viewers the shawl.
Stand up. I'm only little, so it kind of comes down to the.
It's beautiful.
So, and then it caught the pops.
Yeah.
And I'm absolutely, I mean, my husband thinks it's amazing. I mean, he knows I can knit anyway, but you know, kind of he's never seen me. I've never actually done anything a masterpiece, because that's what it is. It's a masterpiece.
Well, is there like any chance of you not joining next year, or you already decided that you are doing it next year?
Oh, I'm doing it next year. It's in my calendar. It's marked. Make sure everything's. The only thing I'm going to have going in next October is socks, because I do a lot of sock knitting, so that's all I've got on next year, socks, and maybe do some hats for the homeless, because I make hats for the homeless here in my hometown. So they're the only two big things that I'm going to have on my schedule at the moment next year.
Well, do you think already about colors that you would choose for next year, like about the color palette, sort of? Like, do you think you're going to go with similar colors or something completely different?
No, I think I'll go with something definitely completely different. I like to mix things up. I think if you go with the same color palette, I think you would get bored a bit easy. You know, you'd lose that not the will to live, but you'd lose the momentum. You know, you're thinking, oh, I used that colour last year. No, I've no idea what colours. I'm thinking maybe greys and reds next year.
Right. Well, I was talking to Martin about it, and I was saying, Martin, how are we topping this off next year? Like, we spent so much time and energy in trying to make this MKAL a community event and trying to make it exciting and interesting for everyone and sharing our journey. Do you have any suggestions, any ideas?
I think even though this was your first year, I think you hit the nail on the head, really, with how you've gone about it, and having Stephen and Linda up. And I waited all day for that. Was it live? I waited all day for that live. And I don't know why, but I missed it. And I was absolutely furious with myself. I thought, I was just sat here and I thought, why haven't I got a notification? I was so angry. And I think it had just gone when I thought, oh, I was so fed up. But anyway, I watched the replay. But I mean, he is just amazing. You know, his tutorials are so spot on. You know, and his patterns as well. And I just think his ideas, where he gets his ideas from, and how he goes about it is like, wow.
Well, I have one last surprise for all the people that stuck with me this season. And on Thursday, I'm going to post my interview with Stephen, with Linda, and with Martin, and all the final thoughts that we had about this MKAL and thoughts about the next year. So you'll get one more episode of it's.
Oh, brilliant. What time? Are you Eastern or Central?
I'm Eastern Standard Time. So it's going to be on 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursday.
So that's 5 p.m. my time.
Yep.
Here in the UK. Right. So that's next Thursday. Oh, how exciting.
Thank you so very much for making my first Mystery Knit Along so very special. I'm glad that Humans of Westknits became such a success, that you enjoyed it. I want to thank each and every one of you who reached out to me and who agreed to be part of this series. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing your love of Westknits and for sharing all the disasters along the way. I love each and every one of your shawls. They're all beautiful. I love your color choices, and it's so inspiring to meet people from all over the world. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you enjoyed this series, or if you enjoyed other interviews on my channel, please consider subscribing. And please let me know in the comments what we can do next year to make it even more fun. Thank you again, and please tune back on Thursday on my channel, where I'm going to interview Stephen, Linda, and Martin, and we'll share our final thoughts about this year's Mystery Knit Along.